Hopefully I'm loud enough. I'm Katie Buhler. I have been being told probably the last year at least, over and over to share this experience. And I argue back with God often. So I told God that I will share this experience, but I will not put myself out there, that He will bring them to me. And sure enough, He has. So a year ago was the first time I ever shared, and this will be the second. These type of experiences are very vulnerable, so if I show emotion, it's because it's very sacred. I will also be sharing music and a video with you. Part of my experience, the way that God speaks to me is through music, and so my speech wouldn't be the same without it. So I am going to start as a child so that it all makes sense. So when I was little, kindergarten, first, second, I remember being pulled out of class and being put in resource and struggling with learning, and especially reading and math. And back then, you didn't really, it wasn't like nowadays where we find out what disability they have and if it's dyslexia or if it's this. It wasn't really like that as much back then. And so, at least our school didn't talk to my parents about that. And so, I was struggling a lot with school, and it was pretty embarrassing for me. There were times where the teacher would say, "We're going to start over here in the room," and like I'd be right here, and they would start reading and reading and reading, and I would try to like follow ahead because my heart would be like pounding and pounding and pounding, and I would be like freaking out, kind of like I feel right now. And early on, I gained a huge like phobia, fear of public speaking and reading in front of others. I know it had to do with my learning struggles, but also I just had this huge fear. And so they would move along, and as soon, like the closer and closer I get, I would try to read ahead so that I would like know what I was going to say. And this was constant through school, and it was a real struggle for me. And I'm sure some of you have the same fear, so you can sympathize with that. So let's jump forward now to my high school. I have a bunch of girlfriends, and we all went to go take the ACT test, and they're all talking about what colleges they were going to go to. And for me, I was so not smart. Like, it was not my gift. And so I took the test, and my score couldn't have got me into any college that like all my friends were all talking about. And so I remember it was really damaging to me and really embarrassing. Feeling like I'm so stupid and what's wrong with me compared to other people. And so there's actually very few people who I've told that score to, but it was so low that I could only get into community college with it. So all my friends graduated, I graduated, and they all went off to college, and I didn't. I stayed at home, and I found a job, and I was working the job, and I enrolled in the community college, and I would go to work, and then I'd go to school, and I'd hang out with friends, some of them who didn't end up going to, like, away to college, but still would go to college, and so I went to school and then was working, and my grades, like, I didn't do good. And I didn't talk to people about it because I'm not very open with my emotions a lot, and I actually, like, don't show emotion in front of people a lot. Like, I just naturally don't. And so my mom finally one day said, "How come you're not going to class anymore?" And I said, "Because I dropped out." And it was just, she didn't ask lots of questions. She probably could tell it was a very sensitive subject for me. And So I kept working. I had taken psychology and interior design and PE, and the psychology test, like I basically failed it, and so I just was like, this just isn't for me, like this isn't my path. And it felt right, so I got out, and then I was working, and I don't know, I got really lucky. Like God literally sent me my husband. He just sent him to me, and we met, and that's a whole other story I won't go into, or else I'll be here all night. But he, as soon as I met him, God has given me the gift of knowing, and every time, like, I just have an understanding in certain situations where I just like have a download and I just know some things, right? And so it's like a gut feeling within my body, and when I met him, I knew him from before, like the pre-earth life, and he knew who I was. And so we just hit it right off, and we just had a deep connection, and I know a lot of people don't believe in soulmates, but I do, and he is my soulmate. And so let's fast forward. We got married, and I told him, I'm 6 years younger than my husband, who's actually sitting behind here, working my electronics. I said, I'm 6 years younger than you, I'm too young to have children, don't talk to me about it. And so he was like, okay, whatever. So 6 months later, I was ready for children. Like, I just had that gut feeling, and God was like, it's time for you to start a family. So we got pregnant very fast, and right away, about 5 weeks, and I got really sick. And I didn't just get morning sickness, it was called hyperemesis gravidarum, and people call it HG for short, and it's a condition, and women can die from it, and women do die from it, and so do their babies. And so my pregnancy, I spiraled down really fast. I had to be put on IVs. My first pregnancy, the doctor and I weren't aware of what was actually going on right away, and so I would go into her place, and I was losing weight, and part of the condition to be diagnosed is that you're at least sick half your pregnancy, if not all of it. And so I lost a bunch of weight, and I didn't really have a lot of weight to lose, and I couldn't keep anything down. And at this point in my life, like, it was just really tough for me. So I have 3 pregnancies I got to go through, so I'm going to try to go faster through these ones and spend more on the third one. So with this one, I would throw up, and I couldn't keep anything down except carbs, and even then I couldn't really keep it down. And I just kept spiraling down and spiraling down. And I don't know if any of you have like depression, or if you've had the flu. And imagine having the flu for a year, pretty much like 9 months, 10 months, whatever pregnancy lasts, and it's relentless, like it doesn't give up. And when you are that sick, it affects your faculties. Like, my nutrition was terrible, so I couldn't even watch a show. I couldn't read a book. I couldn't communicate with very many people a lot. There were family parties I did go to, and it was helpful for me to get myself out of the house, but I just sat there, and I didn't really speak with a lot of people, and I had a lot of family around me, like, all the time helping me, and they, like, literally saved me. Like, women who go through this, they abort their babies because they can't go one more day through it. And I would never, ever judge one of them, because there was a time that I told my husband, I can't do this anymore. And luckily, he pushed me through it so that I didn't make that choice. But if I didn't have the family around me, I probably wouldn't be in the same position. So my first pregnancy was rough. One day, my husband said, we need to get you out of the house. So he had to go run an errand. We drove to the store, and I couldn't get out. Like, oftentimes, one time my mom came to my house, and she was just checking on me, and she's a teacher, so the summers she had off. And this happened to be summer, and I had a job, but I couldn't hold it down because I was passing out, and I couldn't stand, so then they put me on the phones. I couldn't do that because I was always in the bathroom throwing up, and so then I had to quit. And so one day my mom came to my house to check on me because I couldn't work anymore, and she was like, noticed that I wasn't eating. And so from then on, a lot of the times, I went to her place. And that first pregnancy, her and my husband carried me through it, and she would bring me food and try to just make sure that I was surviving it, and I laid in her bed a bit. A lot of the times when you watch TV and like read a book or talk to people, it takes energy, and I didn't have it in me. And so on this particular day, my husband was like, we need to get you out of the house, because if you get depression on top of being sick, you're like really screwed. And so I was pretty bad off. And so this particular day, he said, I'm trying not to look at my family because it throws me off. So sorry, family. So this day, we were driving in the car, and we pulled up to the place, and I didn't go in because I didn't have the energy to stand. And so I sat in the car. And as I sat in the car, I remember thinking to myself, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to. And on the radio came this song. And I want you, while this song is playing, to think about a time in your life where you were low and you didn't think you could do one more day, or something that broke your heart as you listen to this song.
It's like the storm that cuts a path, it breaks your will, it feels like that. You think you're lost, but you're not.
This song was like, I knew that I wasn't alone when I heard this song. And through my pregnancies, I would listen to this often just to get myself through it. And I knew God was carrying me through it, and He was sending me people, and He did. I had so many people. So I had my baby, and I was like so happy. When I'm not pregnant, I am like, no medication, no problems. Well, besides this, public speaking fear, but I'm like happy, and my life is great. So I just enjoyed my daughter, and about a year and a half into it, my husband and I sat down, and I remember sitting on our basement first house stairs, and him bringing up another child, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And I don't know if you guys know about the law of attraction, but I believe in the law of attraction, and I was like, okay, I can do this, and I can will that I'm not sick, and I will be just fine. And I got pregnant, and I spiraled down again. And my second pregnancy, I actually don't remember much of it. I had a daughter to take care of, and she luckily watched lots and lots of movies. And she's really mellow, so she watched lots of movies while I was over the toilet. And my home nurse would come in. She'd change my IVs every 5 days, and every 5 days she'd come back. And this was my life for a long time until I had him. And I had the depression again. I didn't feel like I could do it, and it was extremely tough. But I did it, and he was here. And my second one was probably actually my best one. But I don't really, maybe God took some of the memories, I don't know. So then I had 2 kids, and I was like loving life. Like, take him to the zoo. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Right now I'm 34. So I was just living life and loving it and enjoying my children. And for the next 4 years, if the topic came up, I pretty much went into a panic. And so we just like lived life. And then I started feeling this little spirit by me. And I was like, okay. And this time I was like, last time I didn't really do the law of attraction right. This time I won't be sick. This time I'll survive it. Or this time I won't get sick at all. And I was like 100% confident. Like I know some of my family members were like, yeah, she totally believed she would be fine. And so my 3 kids, my first 2 are close, and then my other ones are 5 years apart. So a little into 4 years after, I got pregnant, and I spiraled down. This one almost killed me. I luckily had a doctor who would give me a PICC line, because my last doctor wouldn't. She had seen women die from it. And so she said, like my first doctor, my first 2 was different than my last one. And she said, we're not going to put you on a PICC line. I've seen 2 women die from it, and I can kind of see why not. But so my 3rd doctor, she had me come into the OR, and they put a PICC line into my arm, and it went into my heart. And she didn't make me come to appointments all the time because she knew I didn't have the energy for it. And I had 2 kids at home. I didn't really take care of them. My sisters came, my mom, my aunt, my cousins, my husband. They took care of my children. They grocery shopped, they cleaned my house. And a lot of you are probably saying, why did you do this 3 times? I just knew my kids were supposed to come through my body. I don't know why, but I did. And I do feel like I went through that. And I now can have sympathy for illness and sickness and the things that people go through. So this pregnancy, I got a PICC line early on, so I didn't have to have the home nurse constantly coming in, and because my veins would collapse, and they'd have to stick me on the first 2 like 10 times to try to find a line. I was so dehydrated. And so this one, it was just like it went in, and I had it in, and I had 2 bags of IVs that I did every day, and vitamins, and I would try to keep down carbs, and I would drink A-Shore. It didn't really work to keep down a lot, but I did the best I could. And then I still remember the day I would get in the tub a lot, because like laying in your bed, it's like the days never end, and I couldn't watch TV because I couldn't focus on it, and the days would just never end. So I'd get in the tub sometimes because my body was so restless from being so sick, and the water would calm me down, and so I'd probably get in the tub like, I don't even know, like 6 to 10 times a day. And for some reason, it just calmed me down and gave me peace. And I remember one day, my daughter, she came in, and she was trying to talk to me, and I remember thinking in my head, go talk to somebody who cares, because I don't. Like, I literally had nothing. I just stared at her as she walked back out, and my husband would come and check on me constantly, and I would lay my head on his lap and just sob and tell him, I can't do one more day. And he would say, you can do one more day. And all he did is focus on one more day. One more day. And so it got to the end of my pregnancy. I was about 7 or 7.5 months along, and one night I had a big pain in my arm, and I was like, honey, my arm really hurts. And so he's like, okay, go to bed, and in the morning if it still hurts, I'll take you to the ER. So I went to bed, and I woke up around 6, and my arm hurt like really bad right here. And so we went in, and they tested me, and I had a blood clot from here to here in my arm from my PICC line, which is why my first doctor wouldn't give me it. So everybody was worried. My husband actually didn't think I would make it. he didn't tell anybody that until afterwards when he told me. He was my strength through it all, and I had to be put on blood thinners. So every day he would grab the fat from the back of my arm twice a day and shoot blood thinners in my arms because I couldn't get myself to do it. And we did this until I had the baby. I'm trying to think what comes next. So I had, oh yeah, so the blood thinners. So I had placenta previa, and I'm going to try to do this without going too much into the feminine body and all those things. But this is my story, so I guess I'm going to get personal. So I also had placenta previa, which I don't know if, I'm sure a lot of you know what it is, but it basically means your placenta is not in the right place, so you can't vaginally give birth. So my doctor was dead set on you are not giving birth. And so I was like, okay. And I was pretty sad about it. I mean, and people don't want to have a C-section, but I trusted her. And so we knew that. Well, a little bit, maybe 2 to 3 weeks before I was supposed to have the baby, I all of a sudden had this inner, like, something's wrong with your baby. The cord's wrapped around his neck, and he's not going to live unless it comes out. And he needs to come out 2 weeks early. And I got told this. So I tell my husband as I'm sobbing, and okay, in normal life I'm like normal, but if you were to ask my doctors, they probably think I'm a basket case because all they saw was a messy pregnancy. So I didn't want to be that woman who's like crazy, my baby's going to die and the cord's wrapped around his neck, and like psycho. So, and that's how I felt. So we did go in and talk to the doctor. I said, is there any way that we can have the baby early? So she went and asked you can't just decide to do it, doctors can't, they have to actually like do this whole protocol. So she went through that and she came back and she said to me, he can come a week and a half early. And so I was like, are you sure? You know. So I talked to my baby inside of me and I said, if you have to come early, you need to figure it out. Like, we're going to do this, it's going to be fine. And I did feel peace about it. So about exactly 2 weeks, he started kicking and kicking and kicking. And I was like, oh man, he's like really kicking inside of me. And my husband's like, okay. So I went to bed because it was kind of actually painful. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and I was bleeding. And my doctor said, if you're bleeding, you need to be in the hospital because you have blood thinners in your body and you have placenta previa, and that is an emergency situation. So we called my sister. She got over there really quick, probably 3 in the morning, and my husband and I raced to the hospital. I don't think he stopped at any lights. I think he ran every light there. And we actually purposely got in our car because we knew St. Mark's had a blood bank. And so I'm pretty sure all of them do, but for some reason I had heard this one didn't, which was close to us. So we went there, and when we got there, they were like, yeah, you're not having the baby right now. Like, you have blood thinners in you, it's just too dangerous. And so they were trying to stop me, but my water had broken a little bit at home, and I knew this, and so they were like, here's a banana, we're going to just have you eat something little, and we're going to wait till tomorrow, till it's exactly time, like, because blood thinners have to go through your body a certain amount of time. Well, my baby wasn't cooperating. So he was coming, and then my water full on broke. And my doctor's like, okay. So the doctor came in, the anesthesiologist came in, they said, you cannot have this baby vaginally because you will hemorrhage. You cannot have an epidural because it will paralyze you with the blood thinners in you. So we have to have you sign all these papers and make sure, like, I don't know if it was like liability for them that we like approved it or what, but so I signed all these papers, and the plan was to put me asleep and hope that I didn't bleed out. It was really scary. I had one sister calling the hospital in tears. It was just really scary. all my family was praying. And they wheeled me off to the OR. And I remember thinking, please, please, just let me live. I just want to see my baby. So they put me in the OR, and I knew I was going to have a panic attack if I kept my eyes open, because there's all this tools and there's all this stuff, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to get through this, I got to keep my eyes shut so I can control my emotions. So they brought me in and they laid me on the table. They pinned my arms down so that you can't move. And I am claustrophobic. That is another problem I have. Yes, I have too in normal life. So I'm claustrophobic. And I actually don't go in elevators often. I go up the stairs. But if it's not crowded, I can handle it. But if it is, I will go up the stairs. So they pinned me down, or tied me, I don't know how, but somehow I was like this. And my husband said, can I go in the room and tell my wife I love her? And then they were going to let him come in after they put me under. So he came in, and when he was talking to me, I couldn't talk back, and I couldn't open my eyes. Because if I did, I knew I'd flip. And so he's like telling me he loves me because he didn't know, you know, is this it? Like, he didn't know if I was going to hemorrhage out on the table with blood thinners in me. And so he's like being sweet and loving, and I'm like sitting there in silence. Because if I talked, I would freak out. And he now knows that after the fact, but he was like, why did you do that? Like, because I would have freaked out. And so then they put me under, and the next thing I knew, I was waking up, and I was in so much pain because normally if you get put under, well, a lot of women don't get put under on a C-section. They just have a C-section, and they have a block, and they don't feel it. Well, I felt it all. So when I woke up, I kept going back under because I was in so much pain, and I felt like a train hit me. So I just kept going back under. And so this happened several times. And when I did wake up, I was like, oh my gosh, I made it. And my dad was in the room, and my husband was there, and my husband put my baby like kind of on my chest, and I was like, I can't, and I need, oh wait, before that, I was like, I'm in so much pain, and he grabbed my hand and made me push the medicine, because you have to technically push it on your own, but I just kept going under. So this time he had held me. So then the next time when I woke up, he handed me my baby, and he said, you made it, you're alive. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I did it. And I remember looking at my baby and just like tears streaming down my face, thanking God that I had made it. And I actually didn't have to use any transfusions. Like, it wasn't even a scary situation. I got really lucky. I mean, it was scary, but it wasn't like the doctor wasn't having to use transfusions and stuff, blood transfusions. And so, so then after that, my husband said to me, your son has had the cord wrapped around his neck so tight it cut his neck open. And he kicked to live inside of me. Like, he literally kicked himself out. And then my body went into labor, and he was supposed to live. Now, if I were to go back, I wouldn't care who thought I was crazy. I would have told the doctor what was going on inside of me and demanded. But, I mean, I even didn't know, like, am I going crazy? You know, I'm having these crazy psycho pregnancies. And so he really did have his neck cut open, but he made it, and he is our fun child. But he's a firecracker too. Our dinner tables are fun because of him, because who knows what's going to come out of his mouth. So he's actually 6 now. So he's my youngest. So we went home. Everything was good. I was like, I am never doing this again. Never, ever doing this again. So the next like 2 years-ish, everything was good. I had 3 kids. I was living life, spending a lot of time with my family, and I had PTSD from what I went through. And I would freak out that I was going to get pregnant. And so my husband and I talked with the doctors, and we decided a lot of people just have one procedure. I had a couple so that I didn't ever go through this again. So fast forward like a couple years, I'm driving to get a procedure done so that I can't ever get pregnant again. And as I'm driving, I'm in tears because I know there's a little girl, but I can't have her. And I couldn't have her through my body. And I felt like I was giving up on her. And it maybe sounds weird, but I don't know, I'm sure a lot of women understand this, like where you feel like there's another one, but it didn't matter because she wasn't coming through my body. Like I had to survive for the 3, I had gone through enough. So on the drive there, we dropped my son off. My sister ran out to the car and then slowly chilled out because she realized I was a mess. And took my son and went back inside, and the drive there, my husband just held my hand as I just cried and cried. I was so happy that I was entering a chapter of my life that was so hard on me and shut me down in so many ways. But I was so glad that I didn't have to fear getting pregnant. And so the drive there, God sent a song to me. And little did I know what was about to happen. So the song played twice, and I knew within myself that God was speaking to me through the song. And then when we changed the channel, it played on the next channel, and it was both times full through. And so I want you to think about something in your life that this song relates to you. And when this song for me was, I was about to turn a chapter in my life and get my life back. Close a chapter and open a new one, no matter how hard it was. So here's the song.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion.
It changed my life in that moment of being like, this will be a turning point in my life. As I drove, I just cried and cried, and it's weird because I don't do that. Like, I don't cry like that. And the tears just flooded and flooded. So we got out of the car and we walked in, and this hospital was a place that has so much emotion to it. Like, for some reason, when I go to this facility, this St. Mark's Hospital, I get like this because I had all my appointments there for my doctors, my pregnancies, ER visits, all my babies there, and now I was about to have this out-of-body experience there. So I walk in, I check in, and I'm like a disastrous mess, like so embarrassed. Get it together, Katie, like freaking get it together. And tears are just streaming like I had a child die or something. And there's these women like in the waiting room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, just stop crying. And I'm all for like shed your emotion, especially for healing purposes, but like it would just not stop. It wasn't stopping. So we checked in, they had us go back to a room, and then my doctor came in and she said, I don't think we should do this today. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, this is the day. It's happening, we're done. I'm doing this. And so she left the room, and I remember my husband just grabbing my hand, and he just felt like he could feel what a struggle it was, because I felt like there was another baby, but I couldn't have her. And actually, since that time, I've had 3 dreams of the same little girl grabbing my face, telling me, you're going to be my mom. this same little girl. So, I don't know about that. I know I'm going to be her mom, but I don't know how. And I've also been told, don't figure it out, it'll come to you. So, that's on God's hands. So I went back. I remember the anesthesiologist saying to me something very weird. He said, "Where do you want to go when you get put under?" And I was like, well, if I say what I really think, he's going to be like, you're weird. So I said a safe answer because I actually listened to out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences and read them and loved them. And so for me, like, my answer was heaven. Like, I would think that would be so cool. But I was like, there's no way. You know, I'm the person who listens to them. So I said, either Disneyland or Disney World. And I really would like to go there too. So that's actually a good answer. But I remember thinking in my head, I mean, us as humans, we don't really say sometimes what we really think because of what people will think of us. So then I remember him being like 9, 8, 7, and I was under. The next thing I remember, I was like talking out loud, and I said, so I've been put under 3 times in my life. We won't go into all those 3 times, but 2 of the times were not like my 3rd time. 2 of them I was groggy, 1 of them I was silly, and 1 of them I was crying because I was coming out from a C-section, and it was incredibly painful. So I just kept going back under. So this time I was very, very aware of what was going on. And I was not groggy at all. And in fact, I was more alive than I've ever been. And I said, I just went to heaven and I saw angels everywhere. And they were like, yeah, you've been telling us that for the last 15 minutes. And I was like, I have? And they said, yeah, you've been telling us all about it. And I was like, oh. And so I had an out-of-body experience. I didn't die. If I did, they didn't tell me. So I don't think I did. And when I was coming out of it, I was here, but I was still there. So it was like I was not in my body all the way. I was like half in my body, still half in heaven. And I didn't care what anybody thought. Like when we're here, we care what people think. And we don't say what we think a lot. And I was connected to every single person around me like we were one. So the anesthesiologist was there, and I seemed to know that they were soulmates, and I didn't know that before. And they were amazing people, and I could feel their hearts. Like I could feel what a good person they both were. And so I was telling them this because I had no filter. Like I did not think, are they going to think I'm weird? I didn't care. Like you don't care when you're in that realm. You don't care what people think. And people don't judge like they do here. So I was just like telling them, oh yeah, you guys are really great people. God is really happy with you. And as they wheeled me out into my room, they said, yeah, your wife said she went to heaven. And my husband said, that wouldn't surprise me. Probably because I read all those books. So the weird thing was that I actually really had one. And I was like shocked myself. So then I was with him, and my doctor came in the room. And as she came in the room, I then told her stuff that I knew about her, that she had saved lots and lots of lives. And I come to find out later, she is in a position where she runs down the stairs, and then the women's center's down here. And so when there's an emergency, she deals with it often. And so do the other doctors in her office. And so I then talked to her and told her what a good person she was. And I literally could feel her heart. So I told her God was pleased with her, that she had saved a lot of lives. And I didn't even think, this is weird to say this to you. I didn't have any of those thoughts. It was like it was normal. And I'm normal. And this is like a real conversation about and she literally sat down on her chair and she said, tell me more. And she got kind of emotional. And then we finished up the conversation, she left, and my husband was like, my wife is saying stuff. So he pulled out his phone, and he started recording what I was saying. So, he got a lot of it, and we've edited it down to things that I feel are not as, they're personal, but there are some things that I wasn't going to share. So, in a minute I'll have him play that. So, I had seen angels everywhere, and they were all over the place, and it was really white, and I was in heaven, and nobody talked. Like, everybody, what is that word? What? Telepathy. Everybody talked with telepathy. Like, everybody knew what everybody was saying, everybody, like, it was just like everybody was one, and connected, and loved, and it was the most amazing feeling. Like, something I can't even describe. And actually, it's been hard for me to be here. And I never had a hard time being here before because I didn't know. I didn't know the difference. But, and I get sometimes frustrated because I tell my husband, you're not understanding me. And I feel like nobody's understanding me because they, like, I'm sure the more I talk about this, I'll meet people who understand. But, so, I told him that I saw lots of angels all around us, and they're all around us all the time. So, you and you and you and you all have so many guardian angels around you, and they're always next to you. So, let's say you all have 20 or 100, and you can talk to them. And I've never learned that. Like, I grew up LDS, and I pray to God, not to angels. Now I actually pray to angels too. So, and I still pray to God, but now I communicate with my angels, and I tell them, like, help me through this, or help my child through this, because I saw that that's what they're there for. Like, they're here to help us through this world, and they can do things. Like, they can actually do things for us. And so, I saw my grandpa, and I saw my grandma and grandpa, and I saw my husband's grandpa, but I didn't see his grandma. I don't know why, because she's passed. And he actually said to me, did you see my grandma? And I was like, no. If I did, I don't remember, but I don't recall seeing her. I saw my sister's baby. My sister was pregnant, and babies do not stay in your stomach the whole time you're pregnant, because I saw her, and I was told she's going to come early, but that everything was going to be okay. And she came early, and she's in the NICU for a while. She's on a breathing tube, and she had a lot of struggles, and it was a very hard time for my sister, but she learned and grew from that, and she lived through it. I was told that my grandma lived a good life, and that it's her time to go soon. And she passed away. And she is the guardian angel. My sister, actually 2 of my family members, both can connect to the other side. And one of them called me last night. And she told me, well, we were talking, and then her heart started racing. That's what happens to her when she gets a message. And she's like, my heart's pounding. And she does this for other people too, like not just family, she does it for her career. And she said to me, Grandma's coming through. Actually, she told me, your little girl's here. And I was really shocked, because I've only seen her in a dream. And I was told that when I share my message, she will come to me through my message. I don't know how, but it will be connected somehow when I keep sharing my message. And to follow the hearts. Or, yeah, hearts is a path. And then my grandma came through, and she said, my grandma served a mission, and she didn't know the Norwegian, but they asked her to come up on stage and speak. And so she did, and she spoke perfect Norwegian. So she came to me last night, and she said, you will speak perfectly, and I will tell you what to say. And it gave me a lot of comfort because the past month has been, had taken a lot of courage for me to stand up here because it is one of my biggest fears. But I know my grandma is with me. And then my other grandma came through and she said something so funny. She said, "I want you to wear the black boots." And I was like, how did my grandma know? I mean, she knew. I asked my daughter, should I wear this or should I wear this? And my daughter's like, you should wear this. And I am not a fancy dress-up girl. So I was like, I'm going to wear flats. Like, I'm going to be comfortable. And she told me to wear my boots. So it was funny. We really do have guardian angels around us all the time. Helping us, guiding us, leading us. They're there. They're here. I feel them. And so my grandma told me, you're going to speak, and you're going to speak clearly, and you're going to know what you're going to say, and it's going to be powerful. Like I spoke, and she didn't know Norwegian, and she spoke full Norwegian. And then after that, she didn't know Norwegian until she learned it on a mission. So, okay, so back to my experience. So I saw that my grandma was going to pass, and she passed away a little bit after that. And I got told that we have one chance to live. That's it, one chance. And that we're just playing it safe. That everybody down here is playing it safe. And I was like, okay, like I'm definitely playing it safe. Are you kidding me? Like, well, not now, but I was. Because I had a lot of fears that were stopping me from doing things. And I realized, like, I think now I have more of a fear to go to my deathbed and not live my life out full than to go through my fears and feel the fear and then step into it. So I was told that we all need to listen to our hearts, that our hearts speak to us. So we need to go within, and we always go to other people. At least I did. I would go to other people and ask them, what do you think, and what should I do with this and this and this? But I wasn't going within and listening to my own soul and meditating and quieting myself and finding my own answers within myself. And since then, I have learned where my answers come from and who I am. And it's changed me. So, a lot of people, their parents tell them, like, you should be a doctor and you should be this, and they like put things on their kids, their dreams that they want their kids to do, and their kids aren't happy. And people aren't happy in this world because they're not living their purpose. And everybody came here with a purpose. Like, everybody down here is supposed to be living 100%, and also like playing and living fully, like daring to step into it and not being afraid. And making mistakes is part of that, and falling on your face. And so I was told, you only have one chance to live, that's it, and we're all playing it safe, and that I was playing it safe, and that I needed to share this with the world, that we just have one chance, that's it. And I was like it's been pretty shocking for me. I had pretty much a rock bottom after this, where I didn't know if the church I grew up in was true, because my parents told me it was true, and I had to figure out my own answers. And basically I had this like building of me built up, and it all crumbled. All my beliefs crumbled, everything within me crumbled, and I had to rebuild myself. I had to figure out what was true for me, and I did stay within my church, because I feel like it brings organization to my family and good values, but I had to get on my hands and knees and ask my Heavenly Father myself what was right for me. And I have had to go within myself a lot to figure out what it is that I came here for. And I can now see that my Heavenly Father gave me struggles, and He's going to make them strength. So, I believe everybody has certain struggles and fears, and if they dare to step into them, then it will transform their life. And it's not easy. It is like, part of my body is like, run, you're going to get hurt. Like, it's an emergency, and like inside is like all this turmoil and freaking out and anxiety, and But the other part of me is like, no, like I've been told to share this message and I need to listen. And I know, like, I'm not standing up here by myself. If I was doing this by myself, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd be tripping over my own words. In fact, one time when my husband and I were first married, before we had children, we went to church, and I would sit in the back a lot because I didn't want to be put on the spot. And they said, will you read? All the way in the back over there, will you read? And so I was like, okay. And I know how to read. I actually know how to read fast. But I didn't read one word right. And I was mortified. Like, I was so embarrassed because my anxiety hit, and then I was like tripping over my words, and I was like, oh my gosh, my husband and I had just got married. He knew I had this fear, but he didn't realize what. He probably didn't realize how deep it really was. So I went home right after that. I didn't stay. And I probably sobbed for several hours, and he didn't talk to me about it. He didn't try to bring it up. I don't want to talk about it. And so it has been a real struggle for me to step into this. And so I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we edited down, and then I'll share some.
So you told him you saw angels?
I did see angels.
You did? What did, like, anybody you knew? How many?
Yeah, I saw my grandma and grandpa.
You saw your grandma and grandpa?
And I saw your grandpa.
You saw my grandpa?
You're supposed to live with your passion. That you have to follow your dreams in your heart. You only have one chance to live. That's it. One chance. And right now, you're just being safe.
What did you see?
Angels everywhere. All over. They said you're supposed to follow your heart. Listen to your heart, not everything around you. But you're playing it safe. You didn't come here to play it safe. You came here to follow your dreams. And following your dreams means what your heart says. If your heart says you need to go be adventurous, that's what you need to do. Not that you're not following your heart. You shut it down for some reason. But I know that there's angels around us all the time because I saw them.
Like, there was a lot of angels?
Yeah, I saw your grandpa and I saw my grandma and grandpa. You're supposed to live your dreams. You only have one chance. That's it. One chance. You can't go to your deathbed and have regrets. It's not about the stuff. The stuff doesn't matter. We'll not bring it with us to heaven. It's the people's lives you're supposed to change. I just wonder, why did you forget it? Why does everybody forget who they are when they come here? They're not supposed to. You're supposed to remember. The thing that matters is to be good people and loving. When we come here, this is like a playground. We're supposed to do everything possible and live our dreams and not just sit still. It's all beliefs. We only have these beliefs and then we listen to them. But our beliefs are just within us. And everything's energy, and I didn't know this.
Yeah, you knew that.
No, I didn't know this like this.
Yeah. Maybe not as much.
Level.
Yeah. Everything's energy.
Everything just has a vibration. So these angels are around us all the time, but we don't see them. And my dad was supposed to be my dad, and my mom was supposed to be my mom. I chose them.
You chose them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you chose your parents too.
Yeah, I believe that.
I saw my sister's baby.
You saw your sister's baby?
Yeah. But she's coming really soon.
She's coming soon?
Yeah, sooner than she thinks.
Sooner than she thinks? Is that a good thing?
Yeah, it's always good.
So I did tell my sister afterwards, your baby's coming early. And she was like, great. And I think she came about 5 weeks early. So I did not see God or Jesus, but I heard God talk to me. And it was so loving. Everybody, all the angels were so kind. And actually, there were family members that I saw, and I knew who they were. And then there were angels who I knew who they were, but I didn't know them on earth. And I knew who they were there. So I don't know now who they were, but when I was there, I recognized them, and it was like everybody knew everybody. And there is this picture, actually, of like Jesus, and then there's like angels all around him, and it's like bluish, kind of light blue. That is like what I saw, but without Jesus and God. I don't know. I didn't see them. I heard his voice, but I don't know. Maybe it would have been too hard for me to come back to earth. So, and it took about an hour for me to be all the way back into my body after that experience. And now I live life completely different. I dare to do things I would have never done. I didn't even say yes to a bishop who asked me to speak, let alone this. I was, like, I just was terrified of public speaking. I still am, but now that I know that God has asked me to do this, probably the last like 2 years I've been wrestling within myself, and I feel like I'm being pushed from behind. Like my ancestors and God on the other side are like, share your message, share your message. And I'm like, oh, what if I do bad? What if I don't say the right words? What if I don't say it right? And like just the fear of stepping into that fear, and it's all dark and it's unknown and you don't know what it's going to look like. But it doesn't matter, because he will catch you. Like, he will save you, and then he will, it's not me. Like, it's not my message. It's his message. And every single one of us have that power within us that he can help us through the things that we go through. So since then, I have rebuilt myself, and I'm still doing it. I actually heard a study that people who have out-of-body experiences or near-death experiences, 50% of them get divorced. It doesn't surprise me. I'm really lucky. My husband is the type who's a really good listener, and when I come home from things, he's always asking me how my day was and all about the details. And so between my dad and my husband, they've listened to me a lot, and they've helped me figure out a lot within myself and just work through like all the things to get myself here and to figure out who I am and not who somebody tells me I am, and to find my answers within myself. And I have learned to turn to God. And now I know that he's there for everybody, and he will never leave us, and he will make your weaknesses strong. And that's why we came here. And so, since that experience, there's been some times that's been pretty rough. I haven't ever felt like I'm going to kill myself or like I want to die. It's not like that. But there have been times where I miss that. And I do believe we can create that on earth. I do believe that it's within us, and we can tap into it, and that God, like, I think if we can connect to God, it's his love. So it's here. But it has been a struggle for me to be back here, and just knowing what I was, but more than anything, it's made me want to live my life fully and like enjoy my life and do things that I wouldn't normally do. And normally when we'd go on a family vacation and we just barely did some cliff diving, and I would sit on the side and watch. And just watch my kids jump off the cliffs and my husband while I just chilled out. But now I'm jumping off the cliffs too. And I want to skydive. And I'm like, literally we have one chance down here, and we came here to learn and grow and live and take risks, big risks, like this. Like I didn't know what it was going to be if anything came out of my mouth, but I knew that if God tells you to do something, you do it. And He will catch me. And so, I definitely had a broken heart and I believe a lot of us have this. We live in this world with broken hearts. And we can't live 100% because we have to heal them. And I believe that's why God told me to listen to my heart. And listen to my heart and look within myself and not everything around us. And so I have done that. And it has been hard. I have had to go through emotions and feelings. My son has a learning disability, dyslexia, and him being my child has brought up the emotion in me and what it felt like, and he has it way more severe than I do. But I think I had a learning disability, but it wasn't a severe one. And I think that I had a big fear of public speaking and being put on the spot. And so He has helped me heal. God sending Him to me has helped me heal. And right now he's in 5th grade, and every day he wakes up, he has anxiety to go to school. And I get to teach him how to connect with God and how he can do it. And he has big plans in this world, and that God will never leave him. And he's learning at a very young age to connect to God, way younger than I ever did. And so, from being a child, the experiences I went through broke part of my heart and made me feel like I was so stupid and so dumb and worthless. And like I didn't matter. Like God didn't see me. He saw my friends, but He didn't see me. And so after this experience, I've had all that come up in me, and I've been able to heal it. And one day, I knew the other side was like, you need to share your message, you need to share your message. And I was like, enough already. Like, freaking harder than you think. You come down here and do it. So, I remember leaving my husband probably every couple of months. His wife's gone for the night. And he knows I'm sad or upset, and he just takes care of the kids. And I'm gone. Nobody knows where I'm at. Nobody bugs me. And this particular night, I was driving, and I pulled over to an area. We live like on the side of a mountain. And so I pulled over, and I was looking over the city, and I was just praying to God, like, you have this expectation on me, and I can't do it. Like, I can't do it. And He said, you can't do it alone. So then He said, turn on the radio. And I was like, oh, here goes another song. So I turned on the radio, and this is the song. So I want you to think about what in your life has broke you, and allow this song to heal your heart like it did mine.
Shattered like you've never been before. The life you knew in 1,000 pieces on the floor. And words fall short in times like these, when this world drives you to you.
I turned on the radio, heard this song, and I was like in tears. Like, I just knew God knew who I was. And He knows who each one of you are. Who you are. And I knew He knew my struggles. He knew my heartache. He knew how dumb I felt as a child. and I carried that belief with me. And he helped me heal that within myself and understand my worth. That I came here for a reason. There's a reason I have certain passions. He told me in the out-of-body experience to follow your passions, to listen to your heart. And one of my passions is music. I love music. Like, I listen to music all the time. It moves me. It answers the deepest of darkest of questions. I love music. When I turn it on, I can dance and I just feel free. And so one of my passions is music. And I don't really have, I mean, I have a good voice. I could sing to you all. But I don't have a singer voice. So for me, I know I have that passion to share my music through speaking. And I know that it was a challenge for me, my public speaking, so that I could make it a strength. So I could help God see, help other people see God through me. Because this isn't me. I couldn't do this by myself. And if I can stand here, this is like a miracle for me, like a real miracle, then you can do what you need to do in this world. And if you're playing it safe, then it's time to stop. If you haven't listened to your heart, it's time to stop and start listening. Stop listening to everybody else and start listening to your heart. Slow your life down. Start meditating. Go within. And your answers will come, but you might not like them, because I didn't like mine. So, but I know that even though I didn't necessarily like what I was asked to do, I know that there's a purpose for it, and now I don't think I'm stupid. Now I don't believe I'm dumb, and now I know I have worth. I know a lot of people go through a lot of hard things, and I don't believe mine was nearly as hard. In fact, just this week, my sister-in-law's not here tonight. My brother is. But my sister-in-law's parents were murdered in Colombia. And people go through some very hard things in this world, and it breaks them. And God will heal it. He will heal their hearts. It happened last Friday. We found out on Sunday. And it has been extremely difficult for my family. My brother and my sister luckily have the gift to connect to the other side, so we have heard from them. And they're okay. But the stuff that happened to them was unimaginable. And I know a lot of people in this world go through stuff like that. My story might be simple. It might not be as hard. But it was hard for me. And I had to believe in myself again. And my sister-in-law now is having to hit rock bottom. And I've been there. We're not promised tomorrow. And so we need to live our life fully. And thank you for letting me share tonight.
Thank you, Katie.